Any types of anguish and pain which a person has, ideal adam after by another person. In other words, Reuven causes Shimon to have tsar. Reuven causes Shimon to have some sort of pain or anguish. So then, because Reuven caused it to Shimon, therefore, um, even if Reuven, whether Reuven did it intentionally or even unintentionally, rak begrama delay, just Reuven caused that pain. Digram tzara acher caused that pain to other people. V'chein, and even afilu mochicho, the even if Reuven tells Shimon you're doing something wrong, and Shimon's doing something wrong. Vaydezim mitzdarhu. Vaydezim mitzdarhu that Shimon has tsar, has anguish. Who mitzua mardus lo avono. He is now serving as the belt, the whip, to whip Shimon because of Shimon's sins. And this is not a good place to be in. It's not, which is a very depressing thought, because it means even if you are, let's say, a teacher and you're shouting at a student, which happens every day. So it's you're helping to punish that person for his sins, your student. So therefore, and he says in the brackets here, also the embarrassment and shame that a person has when he doesn't have error. Also, when they rebuke him, they tell him that he was doing the bad thing. That's also considered to be that person suffering for his sins. It's not just a person suffers for his sins by physical torment, suffering, punishment. A person suffers for his sins by being embarrassed, ashamed. And if somebody else puts him to shame, embarrasses him, so now you're serving as the whip with which is being whipped for his sins. So a person to be careful. A person, if you're going to rebuke somebody else for their sin, you have to be careful that you don't sin in the same sin, because then it's considered to be a particularly bad thing. Because if you are actually guilty of the same sin and you're telling that person off, that's hypocrisy. And hypocrisy is the worst thing of all. But besides that, it opens up in Shamayim prosecution on you. In other words, you feel you're the person, you, Reuven, are the appropriate person to embarrass Shimon because of his sins. Let's see if you don't have a similar sin. So it's very dangerous. Now, it's certainly dangerous also if you actually cause another person harm or cause another person to have a suffering in the physical way. So then also in Shamayim they say, is it you brought somebody else suffering? Maybe you should suffer as well. We have to check you out. We have to see what your situation is. So Kamash Klas, like it says, Makati is May Israel base Yehu. Even it says, even though the house of Yehu, he was one of the kings, the kings of the northern kingdom of Israel, where most of the people were serving Avodah Zarah, and the kings were usually wicked. But even though Yehu was told he's going to go, he should punish the kings which became before him. I forget which one he killed or took over from. But he was told to punish the king who came before him because he was wicked. Since he wasn't clean of that sin, he also was punished. Even though it was told by Hashem to punish the previous king. He's punished as well. Chinemar Gabi Basha, also a similar case. I don't remember who Basha killed. There's so many assassinations and coups which took place in the northern kingdom. I don't remember who killed who. But also, Basha was punished because even though Hashem sent him to punish the previous king, since he himself was guilty of the same sin, so he himself was punished. Ein Shem Rashi. L'chenemar is koshu v'koshu kshot. Says, before you tell somebody else to clean up their mess, you have to clean up your mess. In truth, right? In other words, iskoshu means literally to clean a courtyard which is full of straw, which is full of debris. So if we're going, if you're telling somebody else to clean their courtyard, your courtyard better be clean and truly clean. Otherwise, it's going to come back to haunt you. Otherwise, you're going to be punished on this. So the at first it just seems to be a little bit comforting, but in the end it's not going to work out so well. He says if Reuven causes Shimon Yisurin without Reuven's intent. In other words, yes, Reuven caused Shimon to suffer in some way, shape, or form, but he wasn't aware of it. He didn't do it deliberately. It just happened. So Hashem doesn't cause that to happen unless this person, Reuven, is clean of that Avera. Because otherwise, Reuven is going to be punished himself for punishing Shimon for an Avera which he himself has done. So therefore, Kosh Baruch Hu has to Hashem is not going to let that happen unless this person is clean. But there's Kosh Baruch Hu wrote Hashem doesn't want to cause something bad to happen to a Jewish person, so therefore he's not going to let Reuven unintentionally hurt Shimon unless Shimon deserves it. Except, and here comes the exception. Unless he also has a judgment on this. And therefore, he also has to be punished for this sin, and therefore, on the contrary, let's use Reuven to punish Shimon, because Reuven also deserves a punishment. So since Reuven also deserves a punishment for the same sin as Shimon, great. So let Shimon, we'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll have Reuven punish Shimon, and then we'll punish Reuven. So that story over there is that Reuven killed Shimon by deliberately. So now, well, let's take three people because case there was just three people. Reuven killed Shimon deliberately, and let's do four people, makes it easier. Reuven killed Shimon deliberately, and Levi killed Yehuda by accident. And nobody knows about it. Reuven killed Shimon deliberately, and Levi killed Yehuda by accident. So what happens is that the Gemara Makkah says that what Hashem does is he causes Reuven and Levi to come to the same inn, the same hotel. And Levi goes up a ladder and falls on Reuven and kills Reuven. So Reuven, who killed deliberately, is killed by Levi. Levi, who killed Yehuda accidentally, he kills Reuven accidentally as well. So now, but this time it's in public, so people know that he has to go into Golus. He has to go to Ner Miklat, to a city of sanctuary. So therefore, there's a case which Kosh Baruch Hu brought about that Levi should punish Reuven, because Reuven had to die anyway, because he killed Shimon deliberately, and he's Chayav Misa. This is no court which could make do the punishment because it wasn't in public. So, but Levi is brought to the same hotel as Reuven. He kills Reuven by mistake, and Levi anyway had to go into Golus. He had to go to Ner Miklat, to a city of refuge, because of his own killing Yehuda by mistake. So now he does it in public in the hotel, and now everybody knows, and Levi has to go into Golus. That's why he said in Tzidkas, it says if a person is not clean from the Avera of adultery, so then his wife, who is a sota, is not checked by the water of sota either. which is an amazing statement because it means even if she's guilty of the avera of committing adultery, and usually that's the whole point of the salt water is to check, so that if she's lost to her husband, she should die. But in this case, because he's not clean, so therefore the water doesn't check her either. So the idea is that it's a chesed to the husband. It's a kindness to the husband. Because if he's not clean of that sin of adultery and his wife gets punished through him, it's a very bad thing for him. Because then he's going to get punished himself for having not being clean of that sin. So therefore, Kosh Baruch Hu actually doesn't make chesed. Hashem says, you know what, your wife, okay, you won't know that she's also to you. You'll live with her even though she's forbidden to you. But at least you're not going to die. Because you're not causing her to die, so you won't die as well. So it's actually a good thing. Normally, you understand it's a bad thing that a person who committed adultery, it's bad for him that the water doesn't check his wife. But actually, it's actually good for him. Because if the water checked his wife and he himself committed adultery, so he'd be killed somehow. This way, he's not killed. True, his wife's not checked, but he's not killed. So the bottom line in this Tzadok is that a person always has to be two things. A person always has to be very careful not to cause anybody else any harm or grief in any ever, if at all possible. And if he does cause another person harm or grief, so then it's very dangerous for him. He has to be very careful because if he's not clean of that sin, so then he's going to get punished. Because in Shamayim, in heaven, they're going to say, what right did you have to punish him? So a person obviously has to try and make sure either not to sin or do chum whatever he did, in order that he won't get punished himself. Okay, let's do one more. Samachalef. HaKohanim nikru kedoshim. Kohanim are called holy. Reb Tzadok was a Kohen, of course. Because Baruch Hu separated Aaron to make him holy. It says, when Korach started the dispute with Moshe Rabbeinu about who should be a Kohen, so Hashem said, I'll show who's Kadosh. So Kohanim are called Kadosh, they're called holy. And all of his children after Aaron, all of his descendants, Yesh Madrega Zul, you have this level of Kedusha. But there are various different levels, obviously. Aaron Shutachlis Madrega Kedusha. So Aaron is at the top of the top level. He was the ultimate in Kedusha, and the other Kohanim are different levels of Kedusha. So since the Kohanim are holier, they do the avoda, they do serve in the base of Mikdash. And also Pasuk gives them additional mitzvahs which non-Kohen don't have. Because the practical mitzvahs put kedusha into people. So it's interesting. Actual mitzvahs, of course, put kedusha into people, but even being obligated in more mitzvahs evidently puts kedusha in people because the Kohanim don't necessarily always do these mitzvahs, or do them very rarely, but nevertheless they're more kedusha. And how do we know the mitzvahs give kedusha to the person? It says, "Asher kiddushanim mitzvah b'tzibanu." God made us holy with the mitzvahs, commanded us. In other words, just giving us the mitzvahs. Even if we don't do them, that makes us holy. Now, make us holy with your mitzvahs. That's actually, we should do the mitzvahs. When we do the mitzvahs, should make us holy. But even giving us the mitzvahs themselves, in and of itself, makes us holy. If you do all my mitzvahs, so then that makes you holy. And that's why it says Kohanim is reason. Kohanim do things quickly and efficiently. That's a meat of Kohanim. So reason means they do it quickly and efficiently. Why is that? Why does Kosh Baruch Hu make Kohanim as reason that they do things quickly and efficiently? So many reasons. But he says, it's for this reason. Hashem made them do things quickly and efficiently in order to bring Kedusha to the heart. In other words, if they do the more mitzvahs they do, and they do them properly, the more Kedusha they get. And I think it's also, even though he doesn't say this, he's not saying this, but I think also the Midah of Zrizus, again, even they don't actually do the mitzvah, the Midah of Zrizus also makes them holier. Because it drives them to do things more efficiently and more effectively and more quickly, and they're doing the same shamayim. They're given that character trait to do things for the sake of heaven. Okay, but that's a separate thing. It seems that he's saying specifically that they are supposed to do mitzvahs quickly and efficiently in order because it makes them more kadosh. Vina kedusha. So what is kadosh? There are many different definitions of kadosh, many different definitions of holiness. But he says on a simple level, is separation from all desires of this world. Only to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's obviously not all Kohanim are like that, and Reb Tzadok would say that, but they all could be like that. They all have this character trait, whether they're actually like that or not. Reb Tzadok would say they're all like that, but it's just, you can't always tell because it's sometimes more in theory than in practice. But of course, there's this idea. The Nema Kohanim Li says take them to be my Kohanim. Shukayam Lolmei Olamim. This is true forever and ever. Just like Hashem is true forever and ever, so the Kohanim are consecrated forever and ever. Moshe Mazal, like Chazal say. And therefore, it's like I just told you a second ago, Reb Tzadok says, even a Kohen who's the lowest level. Kosher Mizer Aaron. Anybody who's from the descendants of Aaron, Avish Ein Bo Ein Nikar Bo Shemetz Kedusha, even though you can't see any holiness in him. Right? A normal person doesn't see any holiness in this Kohen. He doesn't look any more holy than anybody else. He doesn't look, might not even look holier than a goy, much less than a Jew. So, Kosher is there around, since he's from the children of Aaron, Shemetz Kedusha, even though you can't tell even a little bit of Kedusha, it's because a person can only see into another person's, by a person's eyes. Hashem sees the heart. And already promised, even if you ruin my covenant, my bris with you today, and the bris, there's still a bris with Kohanim to differentiate with, as we say, lahavdi alpha havdalos. That was to distinguish between with thousands of degrees of separation. That's why in the Catholic Church, they always held that the priests can do rituals like communion and other things, even if they're bad people, because once they're made priests, they're holy regardless of what their activities are. So we of course hold that that's not the case by anybody other than a real Kohen, but in any event, by real Kohen, I'm sort of saying that even if you can't tell, nevertheless, there is some degree of kedusha which Kohanim have that Yisraelim don't have, even Yisrael doesn't have. So, okay, since I'm not a Kohen, this doesn't mean much to me, and I've never found this particularly significant, because I don't believe that the differentiation between Kohanim and regular Yisraelim is enough to hold that the Kohanim, even if they're not good people, they should be considered in higher esteem. But that is the halacha. The halacha is v'kidashto. You have to, even a Kohen who doesn't seem to be a particularly good person, he goes first, with the exception of a Talmid Chacham, right? Where it says the Mamzer Talmid Chacham, even a person from a very low background as Talmid Chacham goes before a Kohen Gadol, who's an Amoritz, who's ignorant. But all other things being equal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that you have to treat the Kohanim on a higher level. They are considered to be holier, and you have to treat them as if they're holier. And I think that that's part and parcel of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed the world. Hashem designed the world that people should know that there are different levels. It doesn't mean I'm worth less because I'm on a lower level and I don't have the same degree of kedusha. Because as Reb Tzadok himself says many times, everybody's judged according to their potential, what they accomplish with their potential. They're not based by anybody. They're not judged in Shemayim on somebody else's potential. And the question is what you can accomplish. And every person has a unique quality. I think Reb Tzadok would say also that since Am Yisrael is called Mamlechas Kohanim B'Goy Kadosh, a nation of priests, so therefore everybody has unique kedusha in them, even if they're not actual priests. But here, Tzadok is saying this idea that there is in Am Yisrael this notion of Kohanim who have kedusha, and we're supposed to understand that Kosh Baruch Hu created the world with different levels, and different people have different jobs. and this person has more kedusha, he has a different job. The person has less kedusha. You have your own job. Each person has their own job. So therefore, you make sure that you do your job, while the Kohen makes sure to do his job. Okay, and that leads into the next part piece, which we're not going to do today because it's long. But this is very He leads to. He's going to speak about this when it comes to other people besides Kohanim. Malos harbe yesh. There are many levels. The kulam zoch kvar gedolei adoros and lum zoch lebnei machrem. They already acquired by the great people generation, and they acquire them for their people for their descendants after them. No, it's not just Kuna. Kuna is one example. He's going to give in the next piece other examples of where people in one generation can do tremendous things, and that can have an influence for all time in their descendants. So Tzadok is saying that everybody should try to aspire to be able to do something which makes their descendants have this mila, that they themselves did something which then became part and parcel of their descendants for all generations. It's not going to be the same level of Aaron and the Kohanim, but everybody has to try and do something which makes the next generations come after them better people. Okay, we'll stop here for today, and have a good week.